Greetings to you wherever you may be on this beautiful planet Earth we call home. My name is Anthony Altman, and this video is number 3, part 3 in the self-discovery video series. And the title is My Past Life as an Essene in Israel, 35 BCE. Well, I have a rather fascinating story to tell you. So sit comfortably, lean back, relax, and enjoy the journey that I invite you to participate in as I go back in my life 2,060 years to be exact. So join me on this rather interesting journey. In this lifetime, the year is 2000. The millennia, the beginning of a new millennia. And I had just moved from Las Vegas, Nevada in the USA, where I was living for a number of years, to a small town called Pahrump, which is about an hour's drive northwest of Las Vegas. It's a rather interesting town, about 40,000 people, no street lights, and lots of space, a huge valley, and just a small amount of people living there. And I wanted to recover from all the trials and tribulations that I had experienced in my life, and in particular, what I experienced in Las Vegas, the stories of which I'm going to tell you at a later time. This story is a lead in to the next story, which is how I came to Israel, why I emigrated to Israel. So here I am in Pahrump and staying with my friend in a separate little apartment that she had on her property, doing my spiritual work, and it was just wonderful. The people were just great. And every now and then I would meet this friend that I knew from Las Vegas in Pahrump, in the supermarket in Pahrump. And we chatted, and she was with a partner, some guy she was living with, and we reestablished our friendship. I introduced her to my friend Joni, with whom I was living, and eventually Joni and I were chatting and said, there's something not quite right with Angelia. Her name was Angelia. She seems very stressed. So Jody suggested that she would invite her to come and stay for a weekend. And Joni was into Reiki. I was also a Reiki 3rd degree. And we thought that we would do some healing on her. In fact, Jody and I would host healing sessions, group sessions in her main house where she was living. I was on the other side of the garage in an apartment. And we had a very nice arrangement, doing some good service, helping people. To cut a long story short, Angelia arrived on a Friday to spend a few days with Angelia and myself. And we realized that she was in a nervous state. There were mitigating circumstances. I don't want to go into that. So we decided to do Reiki healing on her on the porch outside. Angelia sat in a chair. Joni was working on her legs and knees and feet doing Reiki, and I had my hands on Angelia's shoulders doing Reiki there, and her head and what have you. And as we were progressing, I was, the only way I can explain it is that I was shocked by some great electric vibrational jolt of energy. And I lifted my hands off Angela's shoulders, and I had a realization, a vision, an epiphany that there was some karmic connection between Angela and myself, and that was to be developed. My microphone seems to appear and disappear. Strange things are happening. After the Reiki session, Jody said, come on, let's get a few friends together, and we're going off to Las Vegas. We're going to a Middle Eastern restaurant. I did not realize the significance then, but stay with me. You're going to hear a story that is quite remarkable. So we all drove in convoy, a nice group of us, the hour driving journey to Las Vegas, and there was a lovely Mediterranean restaurant with hookah and couscous and various foods, all from the Middle East. And we had a lovely, lovely time, and we came home, and it was very nice. Angelia was doing much well. We all went to bed. We had all had our good sleep. Angelia was sleeping in the spare room of Joni in the main house, and I was in my little apartment. And then the weekend finished, and Angelia went home, and a week or two later, I had a dream, and I was told to go to Israel and look for Angela, not Angelia, Angela. I thought, this is really strange. Why would I? Why? So a few months later, in September of 2001, so about a year had passed, 8 months, something like that. I can't remember exactly, that so much has happened and time goes by so fast. My brother, who was living in Israel, his son was getting married, and I decided to attend the wedding and look for Angela. I arrived in Israel, wedding was lovely. I'm looking for Angela. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's the country had about 6-7 million people. I mean, but that's what I did. Anyway, needless to say, I could not find Angela. You'll realize the pertinence of this very soon. And I returned to Pahrump in the USA and continued seeing Angelia, and we embarked upon a relationship. We got very close. It was extremely karmic, which meant that there was a lot to work out between us. We were helping each other learn how to release whatever baggage we brought in with us in this lifetime, and that we were like instrumental, catalytic, had a catalytic effect on each other. And it was wonderful and challenging at the same time. It was certainly an evolutionary, progressive relationship, evolutionary. helping us to develop more consciousness within each one of us. And one day, Angelia said to me, there is a lady in Las Vegas called Claire Hartsong. She channels Anna, the grandmother of Jesus. She wrote a book of that name, Anna, grandmother of Jesus. And she was giving private sessions. And would I like one to have a session? I said, no, thank you. But if you do, I'll drive you there to Las Vegas. And the venue was in the healing center of my friend Peggy, Peggy Zellner, who's now deceased. Beautiful, beautiful person, long-time friendship, in Jones Boulevard, Las Vegas. And I'll just sit there, read a magazine, and wait for you. So that's what we did. And she went in to have her reading. And soon afterwards, she came out and she said, Anna wants to speak to you. I said, oh, okay. So I joined Angelia, followed her into the room where Claire Hartsong was channeling Anna, the grandmother of Jesus, and she was in absolute trance, and Anna was present there. And as I walked in, she said, Yitzchak, thank you for coming. What, Yitzchak? Who's Yitzchak? And she said, it has been a long time since you have been with your wife, Tabitha, pointing to Angelia. Angelia and I were both shocked. She said, yes, you were a member of the Essene family. There's more to this, but it is just too fantastic to share with you, and I don't feel that it's appropriate. It's beautiful, but quite remarkable. A very well-known family of Essenes, and I had 7 or 9 siblings. And my name was Yitzchak, which is Isaac in English. And she described what we were doing there. And she described how Tabitha was my Egyptian wife, and that I used to go on journeys to Egypt on missions. And as she was talking, the window of perception opened up for both Angelia and myself, and we saw it all. We experienced it. We were there 2,060 years ago, 35 BCE. We were in the family. We were in Mount Carmel, just above Haifa, looking over Haifa port. And she explained, and I was on my knees crying because it was so real. And I realized more and more than Anna was telling me. For instance, I was on a mission to Egypt in Alexandria, and I was assassinated. I never came home. And this was one of the problems that Angelia had with me, because she never thought that I would stay in the relationship, that she had fear that I was going to leave. And this was one of the PTSD, past traumatic stress that she had, that she never was able to let go. We knew what it was now. I'm getting all sort of emotional, and kind of the memory coming back to me. Our group of Essenes was a part of a bigger group. The other part of the group was in Qumran, down by the Dead Sea. And I used to go on camel to visit them at least twice a year. They were the scribes. We were the agents, like James Bond, but not licensed to kill. Our job was to preserve conserve and preserve and protect a knowledge that the evil people wanted to get hold of. And that's why I was murdered. So this was just so incredible. And the session ended, and Angela and I drove back in silence, mulling over everything. There was more, but it's not appropriate to share it at this time. Maybe a little later. And life went on. And about a year or so later, I kept getting this feeling that we should move from Pahrump and go to Albuquerque, New Mexico. By this time, I had gone to hypnotherapy school, and I became a licensed, certified clinical hypnotherapist. I said, we should go there. No, she didn't want to go. Angela didn't want to go. So I was in school at just outside in Santa Fe, an hour's drive north of Albuquerque. And I said, we've got to go. Let me go and open up an office and see how it goes. And I did that for a while and kept driving backwards and forwards, and that didn't work out. Anyway, later, Angelia started to experience a swelling in her left leg. And she went to the doctor, and nothing, didn't share it, nothing to worry about. And then I said to her, look, we've got to go to Albuquerque. Her parents lived there, actually, but that wasn't the reason. I just had this inner feeling. And she agreed, finally. And her father came with a truck. I rented a U-Haul trailer and all our belongings, and in our car and in Angelia's father's truck, we were in convoy, and we drove to Albuquerque. By this time, I had already arranged with a mutual friend, a chiropractor in Bernalillo, just 20 minutes north of Albuquerque, a suburb. He had a chiropractic practice, and both I and Abigail were offered officers' position there. I was doing hypnotherapy, and Angelia was giving massage therapy for the chiropractor's accident patients, and everything was great. And then one day, Angelia said, she's got a pain, and would the chiropractor sort it out for her? And he said to her, it was not structural. It was something else, and we should go to the hospital immediately, which we did. Had all the tests. And in January of 2007, we were summoned by the hospital, and we sat waiting for the doctor, the specialist, to come and tell us the diagnosis, the prognosis. And this is what he said. Sorry, you've got stage 4 cancer. I just can't remember the term. And you've got 4 months to live, approximately. You can have chemotherapy. It'll give you another month or so. what do you want to do? Well, we were shocked. Squamous cell carcinoma, that was the cancer. So I realized that she was suffering from this for more than a year, but she didn't tell me. And anyway, to cut another long story short, because this is going to be a long video, and I'm sorry, she chose not to have the chemotherapy, and she just got worse and worse. And in April of 2007, she died of cancer. I was decimated. I didn't know what to do. And I decided to go back to Nevada, to Pahrump, to my friend Joni's place. And it was there that I realized that there was so much for me to work through. And I was in such a weakened state, emotionally and physically, with all the trauma of the illness, that I had to do something to change my energy. And so I decided to go to India. My friends advised me against it because I wasn't in a good shape. And I said, no, don't care. I'm going. And this journey to India led me to immigrate to Israel, which I'm going to tell you about in the next video. In this video, I have just shared my past life as an Essene spiritual warrior, I suppose you could say. And when I lived in Israel, I'm going to give you all that in the next video, but I'm now living in Israel, and I met my wife, Abigail, and I'm going to tell you how I met her, which is totally miraculous in another video. And she wanted to go to the Dead Sea for a few days vacation. So we drove down there. It's beautiful, beautiful. Israel is actually a very beautiful country. And we did this a few times. And one time I said, you know, Abigail, I must go and visit Qumran. Something, my soul's calling. So we went to Qumran, and it's like a state park. You've got to pay to go in. I said, pay? I used to come here. I used to live here. They thought I was crazy. So I paid my 20 shekels. And I went into a viewpoint where I could see the caves where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. And I walked through the ruins of the houses, and the memories just kept flooding back. How I was there just for so many years ago. And this information is important to know when I make the next video, how and why I emigrated to Israel, when I was told to return to Israel and complete what I started 2,060 years ago. So thank you for listening. And thank you for joining me on this road less traveled. And if you are not sure about past lives, reincarnation, I want you to know that everything that I talk about in this series is a direct result of my personal experience. So nobody can say that, it's my imagination. I experienced it. I also want to say that I've changed the background picture from that curved library in Sweden to Machu Picchu, because I used to live in Machu Picchu in a lifetime, I don't know how many thousands of years ago. And I want to go there because I lived there. And it's very important for me to see it. As I'm talking to you, I'm looking at the background and I'm seeing this Machu Picchu, 22,000 feet up in the Peruvian, in the mountains in Peru. And so I thank you for joining me on the journey thus far. Until next time on the road less traveled. Thank you.